Hi, thanks for joining me today. Today's video is going to be a basic beginner's guide to overlanding, some of the equipment you'll need to purchase, some of the upgrades that I believe are important. I've done a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, asked a lot of questions on Facebook groups, things like that. So I have a general working knowledge. My experience level is a bit low. I would call myself a beginner. I got about 300 miles seat time on trails and off pavement routes, a little bit of experience in airing down tires and why you do that, and airing up again. And so today, like I said, I'll go over some of the equipment that I have, where I purchased it. I'll leave links in the bottom the description below, and you can check those out. Most everything was purchased on Amazon. So I will go over that. I will go over, like I said, some upgrades that I've done. I will go over some future upgrades that we're going to have done, and a couple of challenges around doing that. I have a 2019 Mercedes Sprinter 4x4 170 wheelbase. Built out, the interior is built out by Embassy RV up in Elkhart, Indiana. A very good company. I'm very happy with the way that came out. I've had a couple minor issues. Most have been resolved. I've recently upgraded the power system from, I believe, 420 amp hours up to 630 Lithionics with a Xantrex inverter. And but this video will be primarily about the things on the outside, the things that benefit you in off-roading or overlanding, and some unique challenges you have with the 170 that you need to consider. Things like approach angle, departure angle, and breakover angle are important. Ground clearance. So one of the reasons that we picked the Mercedes 4x4 over other chassis is it had a four-wheel drive. It had a 4-low, which I thought would be important. It had a decent amount of ground clearance before any updates. And I guess a little bit about ground clearance. Really the only way you can gain additional ground clearance other than going to an extreme and changing out axles and things like that is your tires and wheels. And because this is a fairly heavy vehicle, the OEM tires and wheels are really designed for probably a vehicle not of this weight now that's been built out. So I look for wheels that had a good weight rating, good tires with a 10-ply sidewall, and I'll go over those in a bit as well. So it's going to be what I consider the must-have items to start out with. Now I may upgrade these or change to something else as I find they don't work as well, or something else will work better. I'm not a paid spokesperson for any company. I'm not an affiliate on Amazon or anything like that, but I will link everything I bought on Amazon and other places in the description below, so you can check them out. So a good pair of gloves. You may be on the working end of a shovel, and a good pair of gloves is good for that. The second thing is a tire repair kit. This allows me basically to fix any puncture that's on the tread of the tire. I can ream it out, clean it, and put a plug in. I've done this before. It's been a while, but I've done it before. It's fairly straightforward. Watch a couple YouTube videos, read the instructions. You should be able to fumble through it. It's good enough. The next item would be a real first aid kit. So a lot of times we're traveling way back. I don't like to learn on the more popular trails. I like to be kind of alone when I'm figuring stuff out. So because of that, it's good to have a first aid kit, because you may be relying on yourself or maybe one other person to help you out. The next thing that's vitally important is your ability to change a tire by yourself. Backcountry rescues, I don't know how much they are, but I'm sure they are not cheap. So what I did was upgraded the jack. This one, different from the OEM jack that comes with the van, has a wider base and it will lift higher. And it's weighted for a little bit heavier than the one that comes up with the van, I believe. Also off of Amazon for under $100. It won't lift the entire van, which I should never need to do that, but it will lift one corner to change a tire if I need to do that. The next thing is a shovel. So I debated, do I get the Overlanding shovel, which folds and is easy to store, for $300, or do I get this one at Ace Hardware for 20 bucks? So I'm not afraid of spending money in this, and I know it's an expensive hobby and all that, but I would rather save my money for other areas. And so I just got the regular shovel. It's longer, gives you more leverage, and if you've ever worked a shovel before, the longer the handle, the easier it is, and all that. So I would recommend a real shovel. Now the next thing is a good name brand recovery kit. This has a lot of stuff inside of it. It has a toe strap, it's a tree saver, a snatch block, some other things inside of it, and a nice backpack. It's fairly heavy, but the reason I went with this brand and not kind of a no-name off of Amazon brand is each one of their toe straps and things have a unique serial number. This allows it to be traced back to the manufacturing date and lot. So if something were to fail, I can notify the company, they can trace it back, see if they have a bigger issue. But and they probably tend to be more reliable. And a well-known name in the winch and recovery gear market. So I went with them. The next thing that I need to be able to do is air down tires and air them up. So the first time I went with just a basic air down tool, which takes longer, and if it takes longer, I'm probably less likely to do it when I should do it. So this one has a quick connects that connect to each valve stem all around at the same time. I can lower the tires at the same time. This will allow you to air up at the same time, but the air compressor I have probably won't do all four at the same time efficiently. So I will always end up just doing one at a time. The couple times I've done it, it takes me about 15 minutes to air up each tire, doing one at a time. So I have a 12-volt air compressor. It is all top 4x4 accessories air compressor. Like I said, I've done it a couple times. It works well. It didn't overheat like I thought it might. It connects to your battery under the hood. 12 volt, like I said, takes about 15 minutes to air up from 30 to 70 psi, which isn't too bad. And so I'll use that. You could go with a under hood mounted one. The advantage is this, I think, was a couple $100. The under hood mounted one's about $1,200 before you install it. So probably close to $2,000 installed. The next thing is a decent set of recovery boards. So again, I opted for a less expensive brand, kind of a no-name brand. I think they will work. These were, I think, under $100. You can go with the bigger brand ones. Those are $400 to $500. So I like to save money where I can. So those are the basic pieces of equipment. I also have a basic socket set and a ratchet wrench set that I have in the owl box in the back. So the first upgrade we did was the Band Compass suspension upgrade, or the suspension upgrade, which I had done at Freedom Van Gogh in Jacksonville, Florida. They do great work, and haven't had an issue with them at all. Also new wheels and tires. So these tires are the all-terrain BF Goodrich tires, KO2s. They have a 10-ply sidewall. They have good tread. Like I said before, I'm able to air down to about 30 psi, is about as low as I go, maybe 25. And they handle that. The wide tread, as it flattens out, it gives you more traction, more surface area contact with the ground, more traction. It lessens the bumpiness, so reduces that. So even if you're not going on extreme off-road, even if you're just on, say, Forest Service roads that have a lot of washboard, that will help you with that. This saves a lot of the interior stuff from shaking loose if you have air down, and it helps you crawl over rocks and things better. Now the next upgrade we did with the Owl step-ups. This is on the driver's side. Now the reason I chose these is over the other ones that I had on that came with the van when it was built, is that these have about 3 inches more ground clearance right here. They're narrower. So sometimes if you're on narrow trails, you need to get between two big rocks. That can be important. The other ones stuck out maybe to here. These are half the weight of those, which is good. Also the holes allow dirt and sand to drop through and not get tracked in the van so much. And I know I've been up close to the running boards before because I've crushed this heat exhaust a couple times. So that means I was right here, or right here where the old running boards were. So this gave me some more height for that, which is good. Another thing we added was the Alvan's spare tire carrier on the back and the Alvan's extra large expedition box, I believe it's called. In the back over here, this is where I keep all my tools, the air compressor, the air down hoses, things like that. Now, future upgrades that we're doing, next month at Momentum Vans in Arlington, Washington, we are doing a front bumper and a Warren wrench, 12,000 pound capacity winch. So the reason I chose that, and I will link the bumper that we're going to use and the winch and everything in the description below. But basically it's a very minimalist bumper, I would say. It's only got one bar that goes across here, where I hope to put 4 amber lights on. 2 each on each side will be angled out a little bit like this, and then 2 in the front. I don't want to put a roof rack on for my clearance above and for weight and things like that. So that'll be on the front end, having that work done in August. And then there'll be a front engine skid plate there, and then the back there'll be a differential skid plate, and also the Agile Off-road differential cover. So an issue you'll have with the Sprinter, or a weak point, is there's a lip on the differential cover, the OEM one, that is a rock magnet. Basically it can be peeled back easily, which could dump your differential fluid and leave you stranded. So yeah. Oh, and the last update or upgrade will be that we're going to do next month is the 47 gallon fuel tank. So that, for obvious reasons, gives me more range, up to near 600 miles before I need to fill up. It's always good when you go on a trail or something to have a full tank of fuel, a full tank of DEF fluid. I carry extra differential fluid, extra motor oil, and all this other stuff that I already went over. Yeah, so that's all the upgrades we've done. The future upgrades we're thinking about. So there's a lot of different ways you can do upgrades. If you're fairly technical and proficient about doing the work yourself, you can do the work yourself. I've chosen to do some work myself, and I'll go over the reasons for that. And but the majority of the work I'm having somebody else do. So the things I'll do myself, if it's not safety related or the failure of it won't cause a safety issue on the trail, then I'll probably do that myself. Like the step ups I did myself, it's fairly easy. Just had to remove the old ones, install some rib nuts, things like that, and put them in. They came out pretty good. The bigger things like suspension, brake upgrades, the fuel tank, things like that, I would rather have somebody who has a lot of experience in it. Now this can be fairly expensive, but So one of the things I look for in a shop where I'm going to do it is a strong knowledge base in the parts and equipment that you're going to be installing, a working knowledge of it, customer service, good customer service. So if I leave a message or an email or something and they get back to me within 2 or 3 days, and like with Momentum Vans, we've had a lot of discussion back and forth. I've asked a lot of questions. I also like them to be able to recommend things. So I'm not an expert in this. They are. They charge a premium, which is fine. I don't have a problem paying up, but what I do expect when I do that is very good, near perfect customer service, very good, near perfect installation, training basically on what they've installed, you know, like a basic, let me know how it works, things like that. Like I said, I've done some research on my own and studying and YouTube videos, but you can only learn so much from that. And at the end of the day, I think someone who's out there doing it every day, has a lot of experience, have worked with a lot of customers, are probably going to be better at it than I am, even if I take a lot of time to study it. And you know, because I'm just doing it one time and maybe they've done it 20 times. So obviously through repetition, you're going to know more. And the way I pick the manufacturers of the actual parts and things is I like them to be obviously reputable. I like them to have developed their own parts, because that means they did the engineering behind it. I like a company that does a lot of field testing of their parts, a lot of R&D work, things like that. Work out the bugs before it's actually on the market. I don't want to have to be working out bugs in something like that to already be done. We're paying up for that. You know, if you price any of this stuff, you know it's expensive. I mean, just the basic total, say you were to take a stock van, not built out, to somebody to do all this exterior stuff, front and rear bumpers, box on the back, winch, roof rack, lights, suspension, tires, skid plates, and the fuel tank. I mean, you could easily be dropping $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 fairly fast in this. It's an expensive hobby, but I don't have a problem paying that as long as they're very good at what they do. They're willing to work outside the box, that they have a challenge, figure out a way around it, and or develop some way around it, and then make it work basically. So anyway, that's why I picked Momentum Vans out in Arlington, Washington. They have a very good reputation. They've been doing it a little bit, and they're in an area where they're a Sprinter van expert, I would say, in upfitting. And the area that they're in, they're working with a lot of vans that are going into the mountains, Forest Service roads, doing overlanding and things like that. So coming from Florida, I was looking for a company that had a lot of experience with people driving them in the mountains and things like that, because they'll have I assume they would have a better working knowledge of those conditions and what the van needs in order to be able to handle those conditions. So the Sprinter is very capable, but obviously it doesn't come from the factory made to go off-roading or overlanding or anything like that. They're all essentially delivery trucks for Amazon, basically. It's probably why they were even developed at the first time, in the first place. But it does have the four-wheel drive, makes it capable. That does have some limitations and things, but for the most part, once we get these upgrades done, we'll be pretty well set for going off-road and being alone and not in a group, which I normally am. Sometimes we travel in groups. The first long trail I did, the El Camino down in Arizona, is with a group of 4 or 5 or 6 other vans. So I had some experienced folks. They helped me air down. We communicated by radio, so things like that. But if you're on the trail, especially if you're by yourself, go slow. Don't develop, I think when you're new at this, you can develop like a tunnel vision when you're on the trail. You get to a new obstacle that you haven't been over before, or a stretch of trail that's a little bit difficult. Kind of tend to get tunnel vision, only be looking at that. But it's important to be looking down the trail. I'm always looking for larger groups. For example, one of the rules, I guess, or courtesy things in off-roading is that the uphill vehicle has the right-of-way. So regardless of whether I'm going uphill or downhill, I'm always looking down the further ahead on the trail as far as I can. If I see a big group and I have a pull-off, I'll pull off regardless of whether I have the right-of-way or not. Let them pass and then go. 2 reasons for that. I'm learning. I want to go slow, and I would rather not be watched when I'm doing it. In case I make a mistake, I want the film on that, not somebody else. So anyway, those are the basic equipment that I think you need, or I need, kind of why I chose them, upgrades we've already done on the van, and future upgrades to make it more ready for what we want to do. And yeah, we'll be seeing you on the trail. Thanks for watching. If you've already subscribed, thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. If you haven't, please consider subscribing. And I'd love to have your comments down below, what you find useful, what you don't, how you learned, if you're new or not, or anything that I missed. Leave in the comments and I will answer back to you. Oh, one other thing I'll speak a little bit to, and I'll do another video maybe more in depth about this, is having redundant systems for communication and for navigation. So one thing we use is a Garmin inReach Mini 2. Basically allows you to send out like emergency messages to a group that you pre-set up with the service. It's a monthly charge for the service. It's basically like a 24/7 manned call center. So your distress call will go to them, and then they will contact the required emergency services on the other end, plus your emergency contact that you've listed with them. They'll keep in contact with all three people: you, the person who called the emergency service folks that need to come rescue or whatever, and your emergency contact, and they'll let people know you're all right or whatever, what services you need, and get them to you as quick as possible. So that's one way of doing that. And then for navigation, I use Gaia GPS. It's fairly easy to work with. It takes a little training. There's a website that's really good, has some good tutorials on that, and I'll link that in the description below as well. But it allows me to take trails off of Trails Off-road, upload them to the Gaia GPS, able to record my tracks, able to look at satellite imagery of an area before I go. I can see the grid lines, tell how steep it is and things like that before I go. I look for turnouts and camping areas, opportunities to turn around. One thing you have to be able to do with a 170 Sprinter, a big, heavy, long vehicle like this, is be able to back out. Know when to do that. Know when to call it on a trail and not push forward beyond your capabilities and the capabilities of the vehicle. You want to push them to their limit, but you don't want to really go over that if you can help it. So I have had to back out a couple times up by Mogollon, New Mexico. I was on a trail up there. It went around the side of a mountain. It was a shelf road essentially. It started off camber pretty good. It was my first time off camber, so I was a little concerned about the rolling and whatnot, but these vehicles have a very low center of gravity. They handled it very well, but as I advanced on the trail, it kept getting worse and worse. And I could see I was going to, if I continued, I'd have to go at least 3/4 of a mile to get around to where there might be a turnaround spot. And so I didn't want to get halfway out there and decide I couldn't go any further, not to back out a mile. So I backed down about a 1/4 mile to a narrow but a little bit wider than a 2-lane road area, and did about a 20-point turn to get turned around and got out of there. Anyway, it's important to know when to say when, I guess. So that's it for this video. Again, thanks for watching. Subscribe, share, comment, like. Those are all good things for the algorithm and all that. And I'll be seeing you on the trail.